They woke the world to their magic, and their wizardry transcends time. Many have passed on, but their heroics live forever. On football's greatest stage, the gods of the game have earned their encore. Pele, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, Maradona. Revered today by generations unborn when they weave their spell. In the streets of South America, up laneways throughout Europe, on the dirt roads of any African village, the deeds of the past inspire the players of tomorrow. It's the cup of hope, the cup of dreams. It's football's biggest prize on the greatest stage of all. He's the one who stands out above the rest. Of all the performers on football's greatest stage, the one we mention first and always. But there's a catch. We're not saying he's the best, because that's a debate between eras and impossible to decide. Because others have won more and failed less. And we're not saying he's the most inspirational, because he's flawed. A magician to behold when he's dancing around the moving ball. A lost, shamed recalcitrant when the ball is still. What we are saying is that he's the whole package, the one to whom the conversation returns no matter what. For the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. For all the theatrics, the passion, the pathos, and everything in between. He's the one with the richest storylines. Diego Maradona. El Pibe d'Oro. The Golden Boy. The Argentine midfielder played in 4 World Cups. And in triumph or disaster, controversy was his companion. From the hand of God in '86 to a devil's disgrace in '94. Whether gripped by the demons or the hand of God, there's never been a World Cup story like it, and it continues after the break. He was a star at 8. Raised in a shanty without electricity or running water in the slums of outer Buenos Aires, Diego Maradona got to stride the world stage for one reason, and one reason only: talent. His father, Diego Sr., was convinced from the start his boy was special, and he formed a junior football side, Estrella Rojo, to prove it. At 10, he was scouted by Los Cebollitas, the youth team of Argentinos Juniors. With little Diego leading the way, they won 136 games in a row, and at 15 years and 355 days, he made his pro debut, the youngest ever in the Primera. It is claimed by Argentines that Maradona was fouled 23 times by opponent Claudio Gentile, and his treatment throughout the tournament finally saw him lose his temper, sent off in their last match against Brazil, a disappointing second-round elimination. Even the highest points of Maradona's glorious career were played out in chaos. After the World Cup of '82, his opponents knew his weakness on the pitch was his temper. His weakness off the pitch, cocaine, was not yet exposed, but together his temper and his addiction conspired to wreck his time at Barcelona, where he had crossed for a world record transfer of £5 million. 2 seasons of goals and trophies, but also of illness, injury, and a furious brawl in the 1984 Copa del Rey, with Maradona central to the violence. When he asked to leave, Barca was happy to oblige, and it was off to Napoli for another record transfer, £6.9 million. As he would later say on a joyous return many years later, Napoli was where he played his best football and where he was most loved, and from where he launched his 1986 World Cup campaign, perhaps the greatest single-handed campaign in World Cup history. Despite his divisive, self-centered personality, Maradona was named captain of Argentina for the Mexico World Cup. He played all 7 games and scored 5 goals, including 2 against England in the quarter-final that live in history. One of those that lives in infamy. Many of the England players that day have never forgiven Maradona for what they believed was cheating when he delivered the first goal, which he admitted was a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. They even complained that they were still in shock when minutes later the Golden Boy produced the goal of the 20th century. In a run which began in Argentina's back half, Maradona took the ball past Peter Beardsley, Steve Hodge, and Peter Reid. He beat Terry Butcher, Terry Fenwick, and ended his 60-metre dash by slotting the goal past keeper Peter Shilton. Maradona had bewitched the English team, as he had done to teams all his life. But never before had the stakes been so high, and it was almost as if the cup was fated to him there and then. Throughout the '86 tournament, he created more than half of Argentina's shots, embarked on 90 dribbles, and was fouled 53 times. He had a part in 10 of Argentina's 14 goals, including the assist for the winning goal in the final, and claimed the Golden Ball by a unanimous vote. But 1986 would prove impossible to replicate. In 1990, an ankle injury restricted his brilliance, and Argentina lost to West Germany in the final. By now, his erratic behaviour was impossible to overlook. In March 1991, he failed a random drug test, triggering a 15-month ban and ending his time in Napoli. But despite a string of other controversies, he had one last World Cup in him. FIFA pulled strings to make sure that the US government would allow Maradona to enter the country for the 1994 World Cup, despite his history of drug use. And he turned up almost 2 stone lighter, looking keener and fitter than he had for years. Maradona led his side in 2 impressive matches, even scoring against Greece in a 4-0 win. But when he failed another drug test for the banned substance ephedrine, he was tossed out of the tournament in disgrace. That was the end of his international career, but in many ways, just the beginning of his fame. Time has forgiven his errors and embellished his genius. The new world of internet and social media, which may well have destroyed him back then, have since introduced new generations to his talents. That's fitting, because the World Cup is supposed to be a celebration of the game. For all his flaws, the passion of Diego Maradona and his magic on football's greatest stage is a story to savour. When the ultimate prize is as tempting as the trophy, many players adopt the line, whatever it takes. So to encourage fair and reasonable football, FIFA introduced its Fair Play Trophy in 1970 for the side with the best disciplinary record. And the inaugural winner, Peru, embraced its ethos. They won it without a blemish, with no yellow or red cards for the entire tournament. Only countries who make it through the group stage are eligible for the Fair Play Trophy, diploma and medals, and a voucher for $50,000 worth of football equipment for youth development. Brazil has received the Fair Play honour 4 times. England and Spain are the next most successful in the Fair Play Stakes, having won it twice. Oddly enough, Colombia, the winner in 2014, was actually involved in the most aggressive clash of the entire World Cup. Their quarter-final clash against Brazil yielded a tournament-high 54 fouls. Yet the referee handed out only 2 yellow cards to each side, despite one challenge from Juan Camilo Zuniga, leaving Brazil's Neymar with a fractured vertebrae and a place on the sidelines for the rest of the tournament. So while each country's primary goal in the World Cup is to emerge victorious in the final, perhaps it would be prudent to assume a gentler approach to on-pitch endeavours. Given 5 out of the 12 Fair Play Trophy Award winners, Brazil, West Germany, Argentina, France and Spain have won the Cup itself in the same year. That's pretty good odds. As we go to the break, we reflect on an historic moment that saw the famed World Cup change forever. Why did FIFA need a new trophy for the 1974 tournament? The answer up next, when we'll also examine the classic 74 final, when the football was total entertainment. Tournament, Brazil made it 3 World Cup victories, adding to their 1958 and 1962 triumphs. And under FIFA regulations at the time, if any country won 3 World Cups, they earned ownership of the cup itself. And so it was. The Jules Rimet Trophy was given permanently to the Brazilians. FIFA changed the rules to ensure the new trophy could no longer be claimed outright. And instead of keeping the name Jules Rimet, the trophy is simply called the FIFA World Cup Trophy. As for the original Jules Rimet Trophy, the Brazilians lost it. It was stolen in 1983 and is believed to have been melted down for its gold. In 1974, the world was introduced to total football. But that wasn't the total story of the 1974 World Cup in West Germany. It was the cup which many believe was won by the wrong team. And yet to suggest the best or most entertaining team should always win is to diminish the tactics, commitment and plain hard work of the lesser blessed, who stand the test. The favourites before the tournament were host nation West Germany, led by their creative sweeper Franz Beckenbauer and coached by Helmut Schön. Beckenbauer and his men had already won the European Championship in 1972. And on home soil, anticipation was high for a repeat. But the excitement team was Netherlands, whose inspirational champion, Johan Cruyff, was the embodiment of total football, the game plan where players are not confined to specific positions on the field. With the retirement of Pelé after his 3rd World Cup win in 1970, debate over his replacement as #1 player in the world centred around Beckenbauer at Bayern Munich and Cruyff, who had just left Ajax to make his future as a legend of Barcelona. With total football already in vogue at Ajax and 7 members of the squad from that club plus Cruyff, Netherlands easily qualified for their first cup tournament since 1938. They They then topped their group with easy wins over Uruguay and Bulgaria and a draw with Sweden. West Germany's draw had been considered easy, if more than a little ironic. They were up against Chile, first time as Australia, and East Germany. It would be the only time the national teams of the two Germanys ever met before unification. Still largely an amateur team, the East was expected to be out of its depth against the more decorated West Germans. But after a win against Australia and a draw with Chile, they brought the tournament alive with a 1-0 win over their hosts and topped the group. It was the shake-up the West Germans needed. Left-back Paul Breitner not only offered sterling defence, but combined with Beckenbauer to provide rebound drive. And in attack, Gerd Müller, who had scored 10 times in the 1970 World Cup, but only once in the 74 group stage, came to life. Müller and Breitner both scored against Yugoslavia, and Müller put in the only goal against Poland as West Germany blitzed the second round to stroll into the final. And Netherlands was even more prolific, 3 goals to Cruyff, helping them to an undefeated second phase. The total football played by the Dutch had captivated the world and will pioneer a new brand of attacking, attractive play for generations. The final began in spectacular fashion, with Cruyff fouled inside the penalty area before any West German had even touched the ball. Johan Neeskens converted the penalty, and for the next 20 minutes, the West Germans were under heavy assault. The tide turned when Breitner converted a penalty after 25 minutes, and in the 43rd minute, Müller gave them a 2-1 lead. It was a then record 14th World Cup goal for the German striker, and it would prove to be the winner. But perhaps the real West German hero was goalkeeper Sepp Maier, who withstood the Dutch assault, particularly in the first half when everyone watching was convinced it was only a matter of time before the floodgates broke. 74, though, will always go down as the World Cup of Beckenbauer and Cruyff. In an event where careers can be made or ruined, it's rare for 2 men to go into a tournament with such big reputations and emerge in even higher regard. Although the Golden Ball for Best Player was not instituted by FIFA until 1982, a retrospective vote gave the nod for Best Player to Cruyff. But what the Dutchman would have given to hold up the trophy his West German counterpart received on football's greatest stage. Uruguay's Luis Suarez has played for some of the world's biggest clubs. At Ajax, Liverpool and Barcelona, his speed, physicality and, of course, polished finishing made him one of the most damaging strikers in the game. But his reputation was forever tarnished after one of the biggest controversies to ever occur on a World Cup field.
Lewis, what would you say?
Suarez bit the shoulder of Italian defender Giorgio Chiellini in Uruguay's group match against the Azzurri. And it wasn't the first time. He first bit an opposition player at Ajax in 2010, and then again with Liverpool in 2013. What started as a peculiar brain fade had officially become a horrible habit. His third lapse, again highlighting his polarizing character. FIFA immediately handed him a 9-match international ban and a 4-month stint away from football altogether.
This is not fair, what he has done. That's definitely not fair.
Thrown out of the tournament, he headed home to a hero's welcome. And back in Brazil, his teammates and captain Diego Lugano didn't seem to understand what the problem was.
I can't understand how something so unimportant, that is of no consequence, creates this amount of news.
But Suarez's bite had cost him and his country dearly, as Uruguay lost its round of 16 match to Colombia 2-0. The media ripped him to shreds with headlines like Jaws 3 bites and you're out, and Chewy Lewis and the Blues. Suarez and Uruguay lodged an appeal, but it was thrown out. And their conspiracy claims looked foolish when eventually Suarez admitted the bite. I apologise to Giorgio Chiellini and the entire football family. I vow to the public that there will never be another incident. Suarez began a new life as a Barcelona superstar, intent on holding his promise. But on football's greatest stage, actions speak louder than words. Still to come, one of the World Cup's greatest goalkeepers, the man they called Saint Iker. Spanish goalkeeper Iker Casillas was just 21 when his first World Cup chance beckoned in 2002. When first-choice keeper Santiago Casillas was injured 2 weeks before the tournament, Casillas grabbed the golden opportunity by the scruff of the neck and never looked back. Within 2 weeks, his nickname was Saint Iker. After his penalty shootout heroics against Ireland helped La Roja progress past the round of 16. Spain was involved in yet another penalty shootout against hosts South Korea in the quarterfinals. But this time, they could not prevail, going down 5-3 after a 0-0 draw. But Casillas gave a glimpse of what he could become, making a stunning save during the match that was coined one of the top 10 saves of all time. At Real Madrid, Casillas amassed 18 league and cup trophies and became the youngest ever keeper in a Champions League final in 2000. For his country, he holds the record for the most caps. But more importantly, Casillas was the first ever World Cup winning captain of Spain. 2 previous attempts at glory in 2002 and 2006 saw the Spaniards ousted in the early stages. But Casillas' reputation was growing, and the side sensed its moment was close. The Spaniards proved their prowess at the 2008 UEFA European Championship, as Casillas wore the captain's armband and led his side to a victory against Germany in the final. Casillas continued his sparkling form in 2009, resetting the record for the most international clean sheets. He was poised for a big say at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and he delivered. He achieved 5 clean sheets, conceded just 2 goals, and saved a crucial penalty in his side's 1-0 quarter-final victory over Paraguay. The eventual 1-0 triumph in the final against Netherlands was largely due to a pair of clutch saves. After Dutch striker Arjen Robben twice dribbled past the last defender, only to be thwarted by Saint Iker. He became the first keeper to captain a World Cup winning side in 28 years, and only the 3rd of all time, behind Italian duo Gianpiero Combi and Dino Zoff, who accomplished the feat in 1934 and 1982. He duly received the Golden Glove for the 2010 World Cup as the tournament's best keeper, and went a record 509 minutes without conceding a goal in Spain's victorious 2012 UEFA European Championship. Of course, it couldn't last forever. Casillas was one of the scapegoats after Spain's World Cup defence in 2014, when they didn't progress past the group stage. And as the nation looked to rebuild, he was replaced as #1 keeper for Euro 2016. But 167 caps and one very shiny trophy mean Casillas is enshrined in Spanish history as Saint Iker.